Welcome to Fusion5's first Spotlight On video. Today we're talking about enterprise resource planning with our NetSuite Director, Grant Robertson, and our Dynamics 365 ERP Country Manager, Craig Westcott. Hi, gentlemen.
Hi.
Hi. Just to let you guys all know, my name's Trudy. I'm the General Manager for Brand and Marketing here at Fusion5, and I'm going to play the role of interviewer with these two gents today. So let's get right into it and talk about where ERP came from and what it's set out to do. Grant, do you want to lead us off?
Yeah, well, I guess we really do have to step back in time, probably to late 90s, maybe even mid 90s. Now, before Gartner came up with a great phrase in enterprise resource planning, ERP, we were living in a world with really disparate solutions within our organizations and businesses. So we would probably have a separate inventory management system, a separate general ledger for our accounts. Our procurement was probably done literally over faxes and pieces of paper. And what actually began to happen really at that time was that as businesses got a bit far more sophisticated, I think competition probably drove us a long way as well. More globalization, that businesses really had to grasp that all their data really needed to be in one place. There needed to be proper business processes to manage their organization and take things seriously in some way. So for me, and I was there, I guess, with the grey hairs, I was there when ERP started to come in, and it was a revelation, but it was very core to the organization. And I'm pretty passionate when people start getting a bit fluffy around what ERP really is and what it really should do.
What do you mean fluffy? What does that mean to you?
Yes. Well, I guess it's some of the terminologies that get bandied about, single source of the truth and a single pane of glass, and as if that ERP is some magic solution to all of our business problems. And it is, and it's very important that company data is managed, controlled, and I guess in some regards is centralized and organized. But I do think at the same stage that it's not everything. And I'll probably lead us into a little bit what we'll talk about. How do we actually select an ERP if it's more than just a data store?
I guess, Grant, also thinking about it, like it's come from, like you said earlier, it came from financials and inventory. You almost had different bits of data now, and then it's sort of ERP. The origins of ERP was coming together of a few of those data sources into one almost.
It is. I think you're right. It's that culmination of what was probably quite manual as well. If you think about it, whether it was on spreadsheets at the time, and even they were, pretty basic at the time. If anyone remembers Lotus 1, 2, 3, things like that. So I do think that ability to be automating, to your point, Craig, as well, has been a huge benefit of ERP, but it's more than just the data store. The centralization, yeah, but it's more than just data.
Yeah, I totally agree. Automation is where it's at, and that's what customers want ultimately. But having the data all in one place, as you said earlier, is critical, isn't it? And it's core to ERP. It's like having one sort of centralized repository.
Can I just ask, what's so great about having your data all in one place?
Yeah, and very good point. Let's think about what an organization is doing then in an ERP. The ERP system is collating and accepting data and inputs from all over the organization, from sales, from inventory, from marketing, wherever it's coming from. But what do we do with that? And if it's all in one place, then isn't it about insights? Isn't it about reporting? Isn't it about actually presenting up to us leaders, managers in the business, information, trending to make better decisions quicker and more effectively? And also to the point of what ERP actually is, resource planning is actually to run things that will manage your inventory levels, manage your people headcount, manage your manufacturing process. So it does actually have two sides, which is reporting for management, but operationally, you've really got to be able to use a number cruncher.
The benefits you get from having the data, you asked that question a minute ago, the benefits you have is you can get visibility of your real-time visibility of your information. It's not just reporting your financials monthly. It's visibility of your inventory and your assets and everything, throughout the organization at any one point in time. That's so important.
Okay.
Consistency, accuracy, trust.
What I'm hearing is ERP sounds like a bit of a no-brainer for business leaders. But to go back to what you were saying earlier, how do you decide? How do you choose which is the right ERP for you?
It's a tricky one, big decision. Yeah, I'm probably going to say something, and you guys will correct me because it's a real personal decision. Like you might find that there's multiple ERP systems or a number of different ERP systems that could fit a business. It's not necessarily just one system, but there certainly is an ERP that is going to do the job for you. So selection is really important, absolutely. But at the same time, there's not just one answer to that question. You might find that a couple of different ERP systems could do the job for you. But back to your question on selection, that makes it tricky. It's like selecting a house. It makes it tricky. There's not only one house that gives you the answer.
If I'm looking for a house, I find the one that ticks most of the boxes. I want a swimming pool, I want a fence, I want a little bit of a garden, but not too much lawn. And I find all the ones that meet that criteria. And frankly, these days you turn up and you bid at auction and hope for the best. But I'm guessing that's probably not the right process for picking an ERP. How do you guys feel about the RFP process? Obviously, we take part in a lot of those. What's your comments on using an RFP to choose an ERP?
Yeah. Look, again, I think the ERP process fundamentally, Grant, you can elaborate on that, but I think the ERP process is
RFP process.
I mean, RFP process is a little bit like you can look at it as being somewhat flawed, because people go through a very detailed analysis and they look at absolutely every element of a functional fit of the ERP, which in principle is fine, but you're not necessarily involving, you're doing it in isolation, so you're not involving the whole business in that process. So when you sit down and do the RFP process, it might be run by an IT division or something within the organization. And then, are you capturing really what the business needs? So that has a whole bunch of implications.
Okay, well, Grant, if I asked you, if a friend asked, how am I going to get an ERP for my business? What would you tell a friend to do?
Well, the RFP process, it has a place, but it's not all things that should lead you to an ERP decision. And what I find is there's usually a trigger point within an organization that gets that organization to ask the question, we need to change. We need to find a new ERP. We need to find a better way to do that. And what I find with the RFP process, it can be very binary. It can be very, yes, it does, no, it doesn't. Loses a lot of nuance. And what I also find is when that CEO came into the Monday morning meeting and said, this is the last time that my inventory numbers are going to be wrong. We're changing our ERP. What happens with the RFP process is sometimes that trigger point, that inflection, that need is lost. Why are we actually doing this project? So it can actually become very tick and flick on feature functionality. And that's not everything I would suggest an organization needs to make a selection on. The other side of it is, where does that ERP sit within a larger landscape within the organization for applications? What are you actually doing for your e-commerce? How are you actually marketing to your customers? How do you actually manage your security needs in a distributed working environment now? You could actually select a product through an RFP that says, yes, it does this, but you've missed something quite fundamental. So I feel RFPs perhaps just don't always grasp the bigger need for what the organization really needs. Plus partnership. Plus the partnership as well is, if it's binary again, how do you know that you're going to have a culture fit with a partner, the implementation, the change management, all the things that are passionate for you, Craig? More than just...
I agree with you, Grant. Like, you're talking also about the people. You're saying in the organization, I mean, we're dealing with an organization here. It's a whole bunch of people working together. You need the hearts and minds in it. And, an RFP process for an ERP can be, you can lose it. You can literally go you not see the wood from the trees, because you're right in the detail of every, ticking every box. And I think you said that earlier, Trudy, about the house analogy. You said, ultimately you probably don't choose the house based on whether it ticks all the boxes. There's probably 4 or 5 houses that tick the boxes. It's really the heart that chooses the house in the end. And somewhat,
Yeah, that's true.
you can't forget that in the organization. It's actually the hearts and minds. It's the people who need to be on board for choosing the system. Otherwise, there's a risk.
So is that what you were referring to when you said an ERP can often get chosen in isolation, that you're not considering the impact that it has on so many other parts of the business, including your people?
Yeah, and I think you need the buy-in ultimately. So that's a really, really good question, because Grant and I work in different kind of vendor ERP solutions that, to some degree it matters and to some degree it doesn't, because we've been working in ERP for a long time, both of us. But I think you do have a lot of hearts and minds of your organization and the people in that organization. Some might favor a specific vendor or a specific product, and funnily enough, that's almost as important as whether it ticks all the functional boxes.
Okay, well, that all sounds a bit grim. So if RFPs aren't the total answer, what's the alternative?
No, look, Trudy, I think RFPs have their place. For sure, they have their place. But the important thing as well is you need to find a really good partner to work with who understands your business. You need to connect with a partner, and then you need to go on the journey together with them.
Okay, so what does a good partner look like? Obviously, that's a leading question coming from us, but genuinely, you've worked with a lot of businesses. What do you think makes a good partner?
Well, perhaps I can maybe expand on what you touched on then, Craig, is you're really looking for somebody that understands your industry, because that's, first and foremost, you're going to actually understand what the drivers are and the needs within that industry. The other thing about a partner is we did talk about the ERP not being the whole story. So if you're going to go on a transformational journey that's going to impact all of your business, even though you're changing one element, you're probably looking for a partner that can actually support you wherever you want to go. So whether it is about the data, whether it is about the security, whether it is about innovation, whether it's about you actually using your productivity tools in the best way, then it's a holistic approach. I would suggest you're looking from a partner, let alone all the common ones. Yes, do we have change management? How's your support? How are you perceived in the industry? And how to ask the vendor. Ask the vendor, is this the partner of choice? So I'd probably include those, Craig. I don't know.
Yeah, and elaborating on your point there about about industry. Like a lot of, industry is really important as well. Having people who potentially have worked in the industry, ideally people who've worked in the industry who then, understand the product, and they can really talk the same talk and speak the same language as the people in the business. That's essential. And actually, in honesty, that's one of the big differentiators, if you like, for us in different areas. Is we have got extremely strong industry experts.
I'll put out a sticky question to you as a partner who does multiple ERPs. We do JD Edwards, we do NetSuite, we do Dynamics 365 Finance, we do Dynamics Business Central. We're a veritable grocery store of the ERPs. What do you do when you come up against somebody who is an absolute diehard fan of Microsoft or Oracle, for that matter? Do you try and change their mind, or do you work with what their personal beliefs are?
Yeah, it's a really good question. That's a really good question, because I think, to be honest, we back to the question of people. Like, you first got to assess whether the solution is going to work for them. That's the number one thing. And then secondly, once you believe that there is a solution, the hearts and minds of the people in the organization and getting their buy-in in the right solution is essential. So sometimes you'll find, obviously my area, Grant's area, is in the Oracle space. My area is in the Microsoft space. You might get a customer who is extremely, favored towards Oracle. They might hate Microsoft, or vice versa. They might love Microsoft. That's really important in the decision. And it's really important for you to pick up on that nuance when you are talking to them, because that could make or break your project.
And to your point about having a grocery store of ERPs available for customers, I see that as a real positive, because everybody has everybody has different needs and nuance, and so do the products. Yes, we talked on tick and flick, feature functionality, they're all the same. Yes and no. So there are some strengths and weaknesses, and I think it's a real positive for us at Fusion 5 to be able to say we can actually put the right one in front of you. If you're just a one ERP shop, then are you actually going to force the square peg into the round hole? I just wonder. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I just say I think every ERP has its place, and I think we understand that with our customers, and we've worked really hard over the last few years to ensure that we can actually put the right product in front of our customers that's good for them, not just us.
So are you saying that there's no friendly rivalry between the NetSuite and the Microsoft departments at Fusion 5?
I say that. Actually, there is a healthy rivalry that keeps us honest. I think that's where we're, because sometimes, the tick and flick might say that the products could both do the job, in which case it does come down to Craig is saying in this industry, our Microsoft team have a better understanding. It could be as simple as that.
Yeah, and also that point of the organization, that could be a big factor. What is the organization's preference? They might be wall-to-wall Microsoft, or they might be wall-to-wall Oracle, and that's important. But yeah, definitely. But definitely your point about the rivalry. I think there's a lot of mutual respect, but there's also healthy rivalry, and we do put Chinese walls up deliberately for that reason, often because we need to. Yeah.
Well, the fact that both Oracle, NetSuite, and Microsoft have recognised us as Partner of the Year and carrying significant weighty awards from them over the years, clearly we're doing a good job for all of our vendors as well as all of our customers. So I guess the rivalry's working out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll ding that bell, and I think that's 6 years in a row that Fusion 5 and our NetSuite practice has been recognised by Oracle as a leading partner across Australia and New Zealand. So ding ding.
It's amazing, actually, amazing result. And on the Microsoft side, of course, we've been in a circle for as long, and then of course ANZ Partner of the Year recently, which is amazing as well. So yeah, it's amazing to be able to have those accolades and to and actually to be able to work with our vendors in such a close capacity. I mean, it is really good, and it's fun actually working in a channel environment like that where they're supportive. And Grant would share that for you.
Very much so, and I think the vendors, although they would love us just to be in one camp, to be honest, there is, as you say, Craig, there's also a lot of respect that we know what we are doing, and they trust our decisions as to how we best see things for our customers. And that's taken time as well, but there's a lot of trust there. We've worked hard at that.
Well, I guess it's safe to say, that doesn't matter whether you go Oracle, whether you go Microsoft, if you need an ERP, if you need to automate, if you want to make smarter and better decisions faster, have a chat to a partner who understands your industry, can speak your language, and is willing to listen to you. Is that a fair summation?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and knows your business as well, for sure. Like, you trust they know your business.
Yeah, and I think the other thing for me is we want to go on that journey with you and be a long-term partner. And I think a lot of businesses forget that sometimes. They see the ERP as a 6, 9, 1 year project, and it's not. Transformations can be 5 years. So you got to look at who's going to be around on your side and who's willing to help you for a longer period of time.
Yeah, very exactly. And you were touching, Trudy, on the partnering aspect. I mean, it's so important to choose the partner based on just enjoying working with people. And that, because you're on a journey together, you want to get to the outcome together. It's a long-term, journey that you're on. So you want to be doing it with people you enjoy working with.
Yeah, well, we enjoy it, and we try and have fun on the way too.
Well, on that note, I think I might wrap it up. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you being our first spotlight on for our newsletter, The Bottom Line. Just to reiterate, we've been here with Craig Westcott, our country manager for Microsoft in Australia, and Grant Robertson, our director for NetSuite across Australia and New Zealand. And obviously, always here if you want to ask questions. But we look forward to seeing you next time.